right, everybody. Ooh, this your main man, Anthony Brogdon, coming at you once again. And I got a smooth dude on the channel today. You're going to like what he got to tell you. Oh, man, this brother right here, he been smooth and cool for a long time. And he got some history that is a part of his family. He gonna give it to you straight, no chaser, because it's in his family. It's been a part of his DNA. It's a very interesting story, and I am super happy that he is on the channel. I have known of him for many, many years because he's in my same town, Detroit, and I have followed him, and he'll tell him more, his father, and I've heard the story and so on and so forth. And one day I ran into him and we talked, and I said, hey, man, let me tell you what I'm doing. And he's like, oh, man. Then I got to recollecting all of the good news that has come out of his situation. And here we are with you, my brothers and my sisters. It is strong inspirations coming at you once again. Hit the subscribe button. It's free. It don't ask no information. Hit the like button on this video. You're going to love what he got to tell you. Hit the notifications bell for when the videos come up. You get a ding, a shock. Something happens in your life to let you know there is new content on strong inspirations. And then, my brothers and my sisters, tell somebody about us. Don't keep it to yourself. Let it flow. Tell them about this video. What you will learn today, it will be mind-blowing. Tell them about this. And do that expeditiously, my peoples. Did you see the one I got? And this is kind of in his vein with the guy who his great-great-uncle is great-great-uncle was the governor, the lieutenant governor of Louisiana in 1800s. The guy was so smooth, he said, well, I don't know if I can really become the governor. So I'm going to run the white guy as the governor. I'm going to tell him what to do because he got no real clue. And then when that guy got to office, started kind of acting funny, my man got him out of office, right? Now he next in line. He the lieutenant governor. Do you know they poisoned him the night before he was to take office? He was poisoned and he never got to governor, but he was lieutenant governor. Watch that video. Watch the one that I did with the guy out of Mims, Florida. What happened was this brother, his name is Harry T. Moore. Harry T. Moore said, I don't care what them white folks think. I'm asking people to vote. I'm registering people to vote and all this and all that stuff. NAACP chapters, he was setting them up down in Mims, Florida, right? White folks got to him, though, the night of Christmas, and they blew him up in his house. Watch that video. Watch the one where we talk about the Black-owned car manufacturing company based out of Greenfield, Ohio. The guy was once enslaved, and him and his son went and developed their own line of motorized cars. I got their great-great-granddaughters on the show. Watch that video. Oh, we're not playing with you, my friends. Watch the one I did with the guy who's owner of America's oldest Black-owned business to go to 1881. Watch that video. And I categorize them too on the channel. So you just go to businesses, because I want you to understand this. And you really don't have to watch me. You just listen. I'm not singing and dancing, neither are my guests. So you can watch it, and if you could put your cell phone in your car while you're driving, not paying attention to the phone, and you can listen to the video. You can get enlightened easily as we do it for you here at the channel. A couple more things you might know. I got this documentary out. It's called Business in the Black, The Rise of Black Business in America. 3 years of my life went into this, where we talking about slaves who own businesses. It's streaming on Amazon. You can watch it there. Then I took it one step further and I wrote the book on it. And it's more thorough than the documentary. It's more facts. I cover more. It is the #1 Black business history book on the market. Get you a copy of Black Business Book, only available on my website. I don't want to share the profits with Amazon. I just really, there's something about it. And every 10th book I sell, I donate one to a school. And if you read my book and you know everything in the book, you send me a message, I'll send you your money back. A book with a money back guarantee. I'm that confident. It is that thorough. It is that comprehensive. And you're going to be like, man, I didn't know that. And I give you the reference section, the link where I found it. All right, my friends, now go to my website again. It's businessintheblack.net, because I got a lot of events I'm doing here in the Detroit area. And this thing is expanding nationally. I'm going some places in 2023 because I got to get this knowledge that I have accumulated from my research and the people that I interview, like this gentleman here, to let y'all hear these stories. So businessintheblack.net, go there, because if you're in the Detroit area, you want to come to Detroit, March 31st, April 1st, April 2nd, this year, 2023, I am producing, because I have written, and I'm directing, because I got a feeling I know what I'm doing, a stage play called They Did It, about rich Black folks in the 1800s, adapted from my book. So check that out. Come on, y'all come out of town. It'll be a good weekend. The weather won't be so bad, and we're going to rock. All right? Y'all hear me use this term strong a lot. Strong is my favorite word. I wish my middle name was Strong, but it's not. I've been saying strong a long time and will continue to stay strong, probably to the end of my days. And strong stands for strength, tenacity, resilience, and a sense of oneness, nobility, and grace. And that is my introduction to my guest today. Come on, strong man. Tell us your name. Let's get it on.
Well, my name is Douglas Sewell, and I'm one of 6 offspring, the Sewell family. We've been making the Ringmaster rubbing oil now since 1950. And you know, it's a very interesting story. And we've been on a lot of different news programs and been a lot of articles written about it. But the story goes, my father.
Okay, hold on. Let me stop you there. I mean, no disrespect. Before we get into it, because that's the bulk of this interview, I want to ask a couple of questions about yourself. Where were you born and raised?
Well, I was born and raised in Detroit.
Let me ask you this. Do you know where the plantation is in your family? Where do y'all come from? South, what have you, that kind of story.
My father came from a place called Parmetta, Georgia, which is where the airport is now, right outside of Atlanta. And they lived, I don't know exactly how long they lived there, but eventually, I think he was about maybe 12 years old, they moved up to Dayton, Ohio. And that's where they grew up. But initially it was Parmetta, Georgia.
Do you know of a plantation in the family, any of that kind of thing?
Not really.
How did they get to Dayton? I mean, it was under that Great Migration, or to work in the plant. Why Dayton?
Well,
do you know?
For better employment. My father's father took the entire family to Dayton, Ohio for better opportunities. So that's how they got there.
But is there a big company in Dayton? Some manufacturing company? Do you know of?
Well, his brother worked for Frigidaire.
Okay.
For most of his adult life. So, and I imagine there are other companies there, but that was one of my father, when he got there as a teenager, he had the largest paper route in Dayton, Ohio. And he was always a self-employed person. So,
really?
Yeah. So he eventually left Dayton and came to Detroit, but really, the way he got to Detroit was kind of in an odd way. I don't know if you've ever heard of Edgar Cayce, but he was called the Sleeping Prophet, and he was able to actually read minds. And my father was at the Classic Theater in Dayton, Ohio, And he asked the audience to write down a question on a piece of paper, but not to give it to him. And so my father had a two-part question. And he didn't give the question to Edgar Casey, but Edgar Casey was able to read the question from the stage. He says, there's a man out there in the audience by the name of Frank Sewell who has a two-part question. One, should he move to Detroit? And secondly, should he buy a new car? He said, well, now is not the time to buy a car, but your mission is in Detroit. And he says, I don't know what it's going to be, but it's going to be tough. And so that was the thing that inspired him to come to Detroit. And of course, the Ringmaster rubbing oil, which is what we make, turned out to be the mission. And and it's been a tough one. Yeah.
Okay. So. Let me stay on the family, just so my audience get to know you a little bit. So you say he had the biggest paper route. What's the biggest paper route? A bunch of streets, or he actually end up employing other people? Was this a full-time job? What do you mean?
No, it was full-time for him. That's how I don't know how many customers he had, but he just had the reputation of having the largest paper route in Dayton, Ohio. Well, I couldn't tell you how many.
And so he did. You said it was full-time for him. So he ended up doing it. Was it a black paper, white paper? Do you know that?
No, I think it was a white paper. It wasn't a black paper.
Okay.
He just would tell us when we were growing up that he had the largest paper route in Dayton, Ohio, and in fact, he even delivered to the guys who invented I wouldn't say the airplane, but flying. I'm just blanking out the name.
The Wright brothers?
Yeah, the Wright brothers. Thank you very much. Okay. Yeah, they were one of his customers. And he talked about how he used to go there and he would watch them when they were working and so forth. And that inspired him. So that was just part of his paper route. But he was always that kind of a guy that was self-employed.
Yeah. What other self-employment did he do?
Well, over the course of time, he worked for Fuller Brush. He sold door to door. He sold all kinds of cosmetics door to door. In fact, he used to take me with him when he would go knocking on doors. So most of what he did were in sales. Most of all of his self-employment were sales. And he would just pick up different products and he would sell them. He did a lot of handyman work. As a matter of fact, even when he was making the Ringmaster rubbing oil, he had to, when he ran out of money, he would go and fix something, put a water tank in for somebody or do something like that, just to get enough money to buy raw materials. So he had a janitorial company. One time when he was unemployed, a fortune teller told him to go over on the boulevard right near John R. Says, Frank, I want you to go over there and I want you to stand on the corner and the inspiration will come to you as to what to do. So he did that the next morning and he started walking down the street on Grand Boulevard. You know, if you go on the boulevard anywhere east of Woodward, there's a lot of small companies. Right. So he knocked on the doors and asked them could he clean their buildings at night. And by the time the day was over, he had about 5 or 6 new customers. So he used to take us, all 6 of us, with him at night while he would clean those buildings. So that was a self-employment.
How did that make you feel? A sense of entitlement, a sense of a wherewithal, self-esteem, that your dad was that kind of guy? Yeah, what did that do for you?
Well, it did a lot for us because it taught me and my siblings the importance of fatherly love.
Now, what was Black business like in the 40s? Were there Black people did they have a sense of consciousness to support one another? Was that at the height? And segregation, from what you remember, and him coming door to door, was it only Black people he went to their houses, or however he did his thing?
Well, I think for the most part, it was he called on Black people. In fact, what my father would do is that he would load up the car. He had a 1954 Ford, and they had those real big trunks. And he would load it up with Ringmaster rubbing oil, and he would drive throughout the South. And he was kind of like a modern day medicine man. So he would go down south. He would pray with people. He would evangelize them. He was a philosopher and a medicine man. So he did both. So by the time he came back, when he'd be gone for maybe 2 or 3 weeks, he'd come back and the trunk would be empty, and
I love it. Now,
he'd
okay,
come
so
back.
let's go back here to you. You said earlier, he said when he put the penny on the table, it would take a ringmaster
To get
to
out of the fixer he was in. That
now,
was
now
before
so
he
he
started making
your
rings.
father came up with ringmaster.
Yeah, he came up with the name Ringmaster. He had really multiple reasons for the name, but one of the ones, I think the initial reason was the fact that he had thrown that penny underneath the table and felt it would take a ringmaster for him to get out of the trouble he was in. Because back in those days, a lot of people had tuberculosis, and he had a spot on his lungs, along with having varicose veins. And so that was really put him in a fix. He said the only way he can get out of that fix was it would take a ringmaster to do it. And so that became the inspiration for the name.
What is ringmaster? Is that a term that people used back in those days?
Well, yeah, a lot of times when people came up with names for products, they came with names that were symbolic of some particular thing. He saw the ringmaster as a pain tamer. In other words, like if you have arthritis, rheumatism, muscular soreness, you need something to tame the pain. So the ringmaster was the pain tamer, and it still is. Okay. And as a matter of fact, we even put together kind of a cartoon showing the ringmaster taming the pain. So he had multiple reasons why he called it ringmaster, but those are the two primary ones.
Now, okay, but let's stay on that though. You say rain, R-A-I-N.
No, ring, R-I-N-G, ringmaster, like a ringmaster.
Ring, okay, ringmaster.
Yeah, okay. Like a ringmaster in a circus.
Now, how did he know how to develop the product?
Well, back when he was about 15 years old, he met Dr. Carver, George Washington Carver, the great peanut wizard, at the downtown YMCA.
In Detroit or where?
No, in Dayton, Ohio.
In Dayton, Ohio.
Yeah, and Dr. Carver wanted the kids to guess how many peanuts he had in this 5-gallon jar. And so my father became inspired by Dr. Carver. He learned the history of Dr. Carver and always felt sort of a kinship to Dr. Carver. Dr. Carver himself had come up with a pain reliever from the peanut oil. Peanut oil in and of itself is a pain reliever. So our product is a medicated peanut oil. And so what he did was back in I think it was 1948, there was a lady whose husband was an OC captain who had one of his legs amputated, and he was in a lot of pain. She knew my father's background. He knew that he had worked in the cosmetics field. And so she asked him whether or not he can come up with something. And so he said that he kept trying to mix the ingredients and they kept separating and he couldn't get it to work. So he said that Dr. Carver came to him in a dream and showed him how to mix the product. As a matter of fact, Fox News did like a 3-minute piece on it. That was a very nice piece they did some years ago. And it's still on our website. But anyway, Dr. Carver showed him how to make the product. And then he gave it to the lady, and she came back to him and told him that was the first time her husband had been able to sleep throughout the night after using the product. Oh, and that was his inspiration. But really what inspired him to continue on is that when he would travel throughout the South, he would record people on audio tape. He would record people all over the country, and they would give him testimonies as to how the product helped them. He would give away probably as much as he sold, but he would record them. And when he got to a point where he couldn't drive safely, I would drive him. Kind of like driving Mr. Daisy all over the South. And, but I would video.
He couldn't drive because of his own personal.
Well, he had gotten to the point where he just wasn't driving safely because he's gotten older. And
okay, I got you.
He was never really that good of a driver anyway, in my opinion.
Okay, I got you.
So anyway, I would drive him. I would do the videotaping. So by the time he passed away, we had and still have about 3,000 hours of audio and videotape of testimonies. I mean, all kinds of stories. We have stories that if they weren't on audio and videotape, people wouldn't believe what we're saying. And I'm not so sure. As a matter of fact, let me just backtrack a bit. Whenever we make the product, we always pray over it. He would always pray over it. he would make it. He would pray over it for like 3 days, and then after that, that was when he would release the product and begin to bottle it. And when I say we, I mean my brothers and sisters. We would have to label it and help him, But that prayer he felt was an integral part of the ingredients. Now, to be honest with you, when we were growing up, he used to play those audio tapes all the time. We'd be on the front porch, and he would be playing those tapes. And he would play them loud too, And
Okay.
of course, as a kid, I would, I didn't believe that. I believed only half of what he was telling me. But as time went on, and I began to listen to them, and I finally said one day, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to take a bunch of these tapes, and I'm going to listen to them for a month, and see if there's any kind of a correlation between what people were saying. And then I found out that there was, and there is. And so he felt that when he prayed over the product, he would incarnate his prayer and desire for them to get better. So when people would write letters and tell us stories, it conformed with what the tapes were saying. So
yeah, I love it. Let me ask you this. Go back just a second. Why was Dr. Carver in Dayton? Did he travel? Did Dr. Carver move to Dayton?
I have no idea why he was there. Dr. Carver had gotten involved with Henry Ford, and he was a researcher, and he was very popular and very well known. As a matter of fact, if you go to the Henry Ford Museum in Dearborn, you'll see they reconstructed his the cabin that he lived in. And they have a whole exhibit on Dr. Carver. So, but I don't actually know why he was there and what business he was taking care of. All I know is my father always told the story about Dr. Carver and him having met him, and that became his inspiration. So for the Ringmaster product.
But he was there long enough to interact with your father to help develop the product.
Well, he didn't interact. Well, he only interacted with him as a young man, but not to help him to develop the product. My father said that he was inspired by Dr. Carver. He said Dr. Carver came to him in a dream and showed him how to mix the product. That was something that he'd always told us as we grew up. My father was quite the spiritualist, and for him to tell you something like that, you would have to believe him, because that was his persona, his personality. So that's what he told us. And,
now, what is it a liquid that you drink? Pills? What is it?
No, it's a topical analgesic. What it is, it's a medicated peanut oil. It has probably the highest amount of wintergreen that you can get in a product like ours, and because it's liquid, it tends to it penetrates more effectively. In fact, Dr. Glass, who was a well-known chiropractor, has used our product in his practice for the last 25 years. In fact, I just made a delivery over to him the other day, but he buys it by the half gallon every month to apply to his patients. But we sell it in CVS. In about 32 CVS stores now. Actually, it's going to be in about 125 CVS stores very shortly when they do their the new planogram in March. But we also sell it on Amazon. We've been on Amazon for about 5 years, and we sell it in Myers. So it's a lot of independent stores. But it's probably the last of the old-fashioned rubs, But because it's a liquid, you can use it in a lot of other mediums. For example, if you wanted to do a foot soak, you can pour it in hot water and do a soak. You can make a compress with it. You can use it in other mediums, like if you wanted to put another oil in it, like a baby oil or something like that, you can do that. But oils are, in our opinion, are a lot more effective when it comes to treating arthritis, rheumatism, muscular soreness. And nowadays people, you have pain from everything. We call it hurtritis. Because you can trip and fall. I mean, you in the winter, you can strain your back. You can go to the gym and work out too much. I mean, all kinds of things happen to people. As a matter of fact, one of the things that always surprises me is that so many people have something wrong with them. Some kind of an ache or a pain. It's not limited just to getting old. Just any kind of thing can bother you.
Now,
so.
that now, even back then, did he have to get FDA approval or any of those kind of regulatory agencies to say, okay, you can sell this? And I don't know what the agencies' names are. Do you have to have that?
Yes, you have to have food. Our product contains an aspirin. It's like, think of it like a liquid aspirin. With the peanut oil, the wintergreen is like an aspirin derivative. So when if you sell outside, if you have a controlled substance like ours, and you sell outside the state of Michigan, you're governed and controlled by the Food and Drug Administration. You have to be in compliance with their rules. So yes, to answer your question, we are regulated by the Food and Drug Administration. Now, if we did not sell outside of Michigan, we would be governed by the state of Michigan. But because we sell outside of Michigan, and we have a controlled substance, which is methyl salicylate, it's known by more than one name. It's known as methyl salicylate, but also as wintergreen. So the ingredient, the active ingredient, is what makes us be controlled by Food and Drug Administration.
When he first started selling the product, did he is there a different logo over the years? Or I mean, if you move to the side, that's the logo of it now?
Yeah,
Behind
as a
you?
matter of fact, I should have it in front of me, but yeah, that's the logo. That's how it looks on the product.
Okay.
It's in a red, white, and blue box. And but yeah, to answer your question, yeah, this guy right here used to be right where my father is, where his picture is. The ringmaster was right there in the center, and he would have never let me put his picture there if he was still alive. But when he passed away, in honor of his legacy, we put his picture there instead of, and we put the ringmaster, this guy, down. Would you like me to get a bottle and show you?
Yeah, please.
Okay, hang on.
What was the bottles? Where did he get the bottles from? Did he, and in the early days, and where did he make the product at, in the basement? And he had to get the products from all over the ingredients. How did that go?
Yeah, source everything from different places, but he got he made the product in the basement. You're right. That's where he made it. And but he got all of the like the bottles, the caps, labels, things like that from local sources. He got the ingredients like Dow Chemical. We have a source downtown Detroit where we get all of our bottles. And in fact, we've been getting our bottles from the same place for the last 50 some odd years. We've been making this product for 73 years. Wow. So yeah, so it's been around for a while. But yeah, all those ingredients came in labels, caps, things like that, all come from different sources. And you would be surprised with you given a product like this. This is our 4-ounce size. We've got 4 different sizes, but this is but it come in a box like this, and it has a tip sheet which shows all of the different uses.
Okay.
Like that. In fact, we used to have more uses, but the Food and Drug Administration said we had to reduce the number of uses, because your active ingredient indicates what the product can be, what it can be used for. But we learn from people that used our product. They tell us how it's used, because when you have thousands of testimonials, you really technically don't need clinical studies, but we have to abide by their rules. Yeah. So you can see his picture on there. So that's.
I see. Now, being a company such as yours, are there others that you know of, Black-owned companies that have either pain medication or a product like yours? Are you one of the few in America that have been licensed and FDA and so on and so forth?
Well, as far as I know, I mean, I don't know. There could be others, but I don't know. They probably were at some point, but I'm not sure. I don't know.
Yeah,
I would really have to research that to see whether or not there are other companies, Black companies that do what we do. Because I tell you what, surviving this kind of business isn't easy, because one of the challenges that you have is marketing, especially trying to get into the major retailers. That is a challenge, and it's like it's almost like Dungeons and Dragons, you know, like it's a maze you have to go through in order to get through. So that's always a challenge. So
a product like yours, have you all had any big award or something like from the National Medical Association? Have you aligned yourself with the Black Doctor Association and saying, hey, you all doctors need to try this? Have y'all done that?
now what we have gone to, like the Chiropractic Association meetings, things like that. My father received the Pathfinders Award from the state of Michigan. But we do sell to some doctors, and over the years we've sold to doctors back and forth, especially chiropractors. So yeah, but that's as far as we've gone in terms of doctors.
Is your product considered medicine?
Oh yeah, yeah. It's considered. It was considered as what they call an over-the-counter medication,
Okay.
where there's no prescription required. If you go into a local CVS store right now, we're on the pharmacy counter, and we've been on the pharmacy counter at CVS for the last 10 years. But only in 32. Well, I started out with 50 stores, but then they closed up some number of stores. So we're down to like 32 stores. But what we're in the process of doing now is expanding the number of stores with them, and we'll be on the shelf as opposed to the pharmacy counter. So with the pharmacy counter, we were actually delivering ourselves. Like, you know, they have companies like pop companies and wine companies and so forth. They're called direct store delivery, and that's what we were doing, and we did that for about 10 years. So now we're doing the transition. So we're in about 22 of the Meijer stores.
Okay.
Those, but we're trying to expand with them as well by getting them to promote the product with coupons and things like that. So that's a challenge. But we like I said, we've been with Amazon for about 5 years.
Okay.
And we've gotten very good reviews from Amazon.
There have been, you know, Black-owned product manufacturers, you know, one of them we know of, like Madam C.J. Walker and that kind of thing. But do you don't just try to specifically sell to the Black community? I mean, you don't care who buy it for the most part.
No, we don't care. Because aches and pains there's no color. You know, just I don't we have sold, I would say, probably more to Black companies, Black people, I should say, but because I think over the years most of our sales came through dealers. We would have dealers who would actually sell the product, and of course their contacts were mostly Black people. And then sometimes when the dealers would stop selling, then they would come to us to get the product. So that was another. In fact, we sold through dealers exclusively until my father, when he got sick and stopped and working, we began to go out ourselves and try to get more retailers. Yeah, but yeah.
Now, so he started the company. He ran it until his passing, and then you took over. How long you been involved?
Well, I've been involved all my life practically. But what happened was that we had an office supply company. We were the first retailer to open up in the Renaissance Center, and it was called American Office Products. So in that building that we had another building, and on one side of the building was my father made the product. And on the other side of the building, we had the office supply business as well as the store we had downtown. So I was always with them, and other members of the family would help out. We've all been volunteers, you know, over the years. My two brothers, one of my brothers passed, but my other brother worked with them. My father, my 3 sisters, they all did something. My niece is very active in the business. So as a matter of fact, we should be in the Free Press sometime, I guess, when they do their piece on Black History Month. So they did a story. They did the story last year,
Okay.
but they didn't run it last year, so they say they're going to run it this year. So we'll see.
Did the other people know of him? Did he, you know, get some recognition like you know, I don't know, the Black Enterprise? Have they heard of you all and that kind of thing?
Yes, we were in Black Enterprise. Gosh, it's been a while ago, but they did a very nice story on us. We've been in the Free Press, the Michigan Chronicle. We've been in Dayton Daily News. We've been in gosh, I can't think of all the newspaper stories we've been in. I have 50 radio interviews that I've done. My father and I, we've been to New York, we've been to Memphis, Tennessee, we've been to Atlanta. In fact, one of our dealers had 40 radio stations out of Norfolk, Virginia. Bishop L.A. Willis. We went on a lot of his programs. So right now I have in my possession 50 radio interviews. We did a lot in New York City. We did a lot in, I'm trying to think of all the different cities we were in. Ypsilanti. We've done a lot in Detroit, you know. Gosh, I mean, there's been many of them because the story is such a unique story.
Yes.
I mean, anybody that would have compiled the number of tapes. In fact, I even took a picture of my father's tapes. I said, well, why don't we spread them out on the living room floor? And I hired a photographer to come out and take the pictures of all of the tapes, the audio and video tapes. And we used to do, we had some programs. And I used to write for the Chronicle. I would write, I did an article on alternative medicine for about, I think maybe a year and a half or two. Because a lot of times we found that people who had arthritic conditions also had other things that needed to be treated. Inflammation was the biggest problem, because what happens is inflammation tends to wear out the cartilage, and diet, lack of exercise, things like that all affect and all contribute to inflammation. So I would do the articles to inform people on how to eat properly and what kind of supplements to take and things like that to help as a complementary form of medicine. Yeah, we sold vitamins, but our primary focus is on the Ringmaster rubbing oil. But I wanted people to be well. So and a lot of times people are funny. They'll tell you how to use the product. You know, so it's
you know, the dad found his niche.
Oh yeah. He definitely found his niche because it fit his personality. He was very much a humanitarian, and he wanted to help people. So the stories that we got from people, as a matter of fact, when he got the Pathfinders Award, there was a lady on the Dias whose husband had been injured on a construction site, and he was in bed and he didn't want to get up anymore. So she said that, so we gave her a bottle of oil and we said, we want you to go home. We want you to rub him. And as you massage him, tell him you love him and pray for him as you massage him. So the next day she called back and she says, he's up and he's feeling better. So we went back and retaped him just to cross-reference with the story to make sure that when we told people the story, it was accurate. And so we did. In fact, they began to sell the product and evangelize people with it and travel the South because it had helped her husband so much. But we have a lot of stories like that.
Yeah, I got you.
We even had Channel 7 out one time, had a lady who had neuropathy from diabetes and was in a wheelchair, and she was able to walk after using the product. We don't try to take credit for that kind of stuff because a lot of times people are thinking you're making snake oil and you're exaggerating. Yeah. So we know what we have found out is that deep tissue massage does a lot to stimulate vital energy, and we also found that when people would work with their relatives and massage them, because rubbing is extremely important in stimulating blood flow. And that's why we call it a rubbing oil, because the rubbing has a lot to do with creating vital energy. And so we've always encouraged that, because the rubbing oil kind of sounds like an old-fashioned product anyway. So, but people have to understand. In fact, I was just looking a while ago, and it talked about how rubbing actually helps to remove waste products from the body through the lymphatic system. That's important. And if you have your muscles, it helps to relax and stress the tendons and the ligaments. That's important. Chinese and Asians have always believed in deep tissue massage as a therapeutic benefit. As a matter of fact, we sell to a lot of massage therapists who use our practice. They use it when they have people who have stubborn conditions that they need to be treated. So this is when you bring out the big guns. That's the right method.
I love it. Just a couple more questions now, and you can attest to this, I would suspect. When a person has some health issues, or even before they do, the doctors are one source, but the other source is like something like yours, or a nutrition diet and herbal teas and things of that sort that play a big part into the one's health improvement.
Yeah, absolutely. As a matter of fact, we don't subscribe to as many now. We did subscribe to quite a number of newsletters on natural medicine, which became the source for my articles in the Michigan Chronicle. And a lot of times, which you'll find in those kinds of newsletters, things that like probiotics, for example, they were talking about probiotics 10 years before they even became popular in the health food stores. You'll find a lot of things that are researched, and they're researched very well, and but you don't see them in everyday news. You only see them if you subscribe to specialty newsletters, and that's where you get a lot of information like that from. But now, because of the internet and because of YouTube and things like that, you learn a lot. For example, the turmeric is a good example. Which is used throughout India, but turmeric helps to prevent inflammation. So but you have to use turmeric, which one of the constituents of turmeric is curry. So curry creates a yellow color in the turmeric, but it helps to prevent inflammation. So which is the biggest cause of arthritis or wearing down on the lower-bearing joints. Of course, there are other factors like weight and things like that affect the cartilage. But but complementary medicine is very important. I mean, that is medicine that's used along with your regular medicine. And I'm not.
And over the years, that's what people who were enslaved had to do. They had to come up with what plants and things of that sort would help heal, because they didn't maybe have doctors readily available.
Well, that's right. As a matter of fact, the active ingredient in our product, which is the wintergreen, is really, well, the wintergreen comes from a plant, but it also comes from the birch tree, the bark of the birch tree. And when it's macerated and steamed, you can create a natural methyl salicylate or a wintergreen. But we use a synthetic because natural would be prohibitive from a cost standpoint. So, but yeah, that's right. A lot of things are found in nature. In terms of, in fact, most of the medicines are actually people research who go to the Amazon and research plant medicine.
Okay.
Yeah, it's a topical pain reliever. You can put excuse me, a little bit in your bath water, not much, not more than a capful, because people do it as a soak. We had one of our customers, he had a callus on the bottom of his feet, and he used to soak every day in the ringmaster, the tub. And one day he said the callus, he saw something floating on the top of the water, and the whole entire callus had come off because of the oil itself. And see, some countries, oils are very popular, especially in Asiatic countries and Arabic countries. They use oils for quite a number of treatments. So I think we're probably the only medicated oil in the store. Most products are either salves, creams, lotions, or gels. But the problem with that is that they're limited in terms of their versatility. You can't use them with other mediums. You can't put them in a foot soak or make a compress, things like that. So liquid is a lot more flexible. Another thing too, the reason why it's in glass, because if this were in plastic, it would go right through it. And in fact, my brothers and I had convinced my father to buy 10,000 plastic bottles. And he had to throw them all away because it would go right through the medicine would go right through the plastic. So glass is a lot safer, and it doesn't commingle with the plastic. So because this is such a rich formula, it doesn't go well with plastic, and we wouldn't want the medicine to commingle with plastic. So we think that glass is a lot safer.
Yeah.
So
One more. If somebody was to say, "Hey, man, I tried your product and it didn't work," your first response, you didn't try it long enough, or you don't know what you're doing. You know what I mean? What's the naysayers to something like what your product?
Well, I would say that if it didn't work for you, it's unique to you, and we would give you your money back. But I wouldn't argue with a person as to whether or not they used it right or wrong. I would encourage them, because in our tip sheet, it tells you all the different techniques to use. For example, wrapping. Once you apply it, wrapping the product. If you say it's your knee, and you put it on, you can use a towel, or you can use some other wrap. You can use plastic to help seal it in. That's another way to speed up the penetration. So we tell people to rub in an upward fashion. If you're going to use it on your knees, it's best to rub the back of your knees first, and then come around to the front, because you've got more flesh in the back. You got the bone in the front. So using it in the back of the knee helps it to be more effective. So and that's as a matter of fact, speaking of customers, our product was used on Muhammad Ali all during his fighting career. In fact, the Muslims used to sell it. Every year they would come by and they would order 10,000 bottles, and then they would sell it. And so when Muhammad Ali became a Muslim, he had to sell it too. He didn't sell it for very long, but Herbert Muhammad, his trainer, his cousin ran the masjid here in Detroit over on Linwood. And him and my father, his name was Roscoe X, he was friends with my father. So his cousin was Herbert Muhammad's trainer. So he used it on him all during his fighting career. In fact, Malcolm X and his two brothers used to come by the house. I remember one time Malcolm X came by, he had a cigar box full of coins to pay for his product, because they would buy it wholesale, and then they would go out and sell it. So Malcolm X would sell it just like his two brothers. And so we've had some interesting people come and buy the product over the years.
Yeah. What's your website? You say it's on Amazon and they can get it from you directly. Yes. What's your website? So on and so forth.
Well, the website is ringmasternow.com. You can order it from there, or you can order it, or you can go to the store and get it. We sell it in a number of health food stores. We sell it in beauty supply stores, because hairstylists develop carpal tunnel from doing hair, braiding hair and so forth. So the carpal tunnel is where the tendons around the wrist will become inflamed and tighten up, and a lot of hairstylists will have tingling at night and can't sleep and so forth. So we sell to elite beauty supply stores.
I love it. And it's been going how many years now? How many years old?
73 years. And it started in 1950. My father started in 1950. Actually, he started in 1948, but he didn't put it on the market until 1950. So it's been, and as a matter of fact, ironically, my father's birthday is tomorrow, which is February 6th. And we as a family will celebrate his birthday and acknowledge him. So he told us when we were taking care of him when he was sick, he says, when I get to where I'm going, he said, I'm going to tell the people, whoever's there, how well you all treated me.
I love it. I love it.
So, yeah. He was quite a character.
Yeah. Now I'll move over just 1 second, because the poster, I want to see it again. It says stops pain, improves circulation, increase range of motion.
Okay, yeah,
At the top there, and then that icon is y'all call that the ringmaster.
Yeah, this is the ringmaster here, and that's the pain controller. And this, of course, my father's really his name was we call him the ringmaster. As a matter of fact, when we would go to schools and talk to students, they would ask him, "What is your name?" And he'd say, "My name is Ringmaster." And so he identified with that name.
Yeah,
his
that's a beautiful story.
yeah, his mother was she came from a tribe of Black Indians called Mollyguash, and I don't know whatever happened to him, but she was the I think the inspiration behind him as well, because she was very much aware of all kinds of plants and different herbal treatments and things of that nature. So I think he was inspired by her as well.
Okay. Is that the only product he's developed? Is just Ringmaster, or did he have others?
No, it's just the only one. He doesn't have any other products. It's kind of like.
Hey, everybody! I told you he's gonna like this. Now I'm gonna make you feel better. I'm gonna give you some history, and I'll make you feel better, as he did with Muhammad Ali and Malcolm X and so many others over the years.
Yes.
And it's coming to you. You see the owner. You can get it on the website. You can get it on Amazon, and it's coming to as it is already in a number of CVS drugstores. Not to promote them per se, but that's where it is. And it's going national.
Yes.
Because he's on to something, and and all it needs is more exposure and more people telling those stories.
Yeah, they just need to know the story. It's quite a story. So yeah, but you can always get it from us. Our number is 313-863-1200. 313-863-1200.
Yeah, we'll put that on there on the description and the website.
Yeah.
And so how does it make you feel being a part of this?
Well, it's inspired me, and it's been, and every time I get a little bit despondent or a little bit tired, I'll run across somebody in a store and they'll tell me a story. I don't know. I don't know if that's God's work. I assume it is. But you know, I have a book called Hidden Messages in Water, and that's what really convinced me that you can incarnate a feeling or a prayer into a liquid. They proved, I mean, scientifically, with water, that if you took a container of water and you put a label on it and said love, and you took another one and you put a label said hate, just on water. It has to be clean water. What they would do is they would flash freeze the water, and the water that had love on the label, with the freeze, it would look like it would be a beautiful design of the water that was frozen. And then if you put a negative word on it, it would be distorted. And they did that all over the world, and they proved that you can incarnate a feeling into a substance. And that's when I was really convinced that my father's prayer, now my sister's and mine, can incarnate into a substance. And for that, I didn't believe it. I believed it, but I didn't believe it.
Yeah, sure.
But the proof is in fact, there's a documentary that confirms the same thing. That they've even taken rice and done the same thing with rice. You know, so it's an amazing. Dr. Emoto was the guy, the scientist that discovered this.
I love it. Well, hey everybody, man, I told you you're gonna like this, because like I say, now you're gonna feel better. You got some aches and pains, try you some of that Ringmaster. And all honesty, you don't say just take it once and all of a sudden that night you better. It's gonna take some taking to regress what the issue is. Is that
exactly? Yes. Yeah. You know, I notice a lot of times I keep it right next to my bed, because a lot of times I might wake up in the morning, I got a backache. I don't know where it comes from, but what I'll do, I'll rub my back at night before I go to bed, um, because that way when I wake up in the morning, I don't have that backache. When I go to the gym, same thing. I'll make sure I have it. Yeah, you have if you have a particular problem, it's not going to go away with one application. You have to use it all the time. If you have a human body, you're going to have some kind of a pain reliever, and this is the kind of thing you want next to your bed at all times.
I got you. There you go. All right, we plugging on this channel, my brother. We want plenty of sales coming your way. Many more. Everybody, check out Ringmaster. Go to the website. He even left the telephone number, so you got that. I'm not taking that off. Call him and say, I want some more of that. I want to start out. I want some more, and we're gonna keep it going. Check out what he's doing, and so on and so forth. And you said you wrote a book. Did you say you wrote a book on this or something like that?
Yeah, well, what I did was when my father passed away, I wrote it was really more like a booklet. It's about 30 pages long, but it tells the entire story of the Ringmaster and how it started. And one thing I didn't mention, but I should mention, there's a lot of stuff I didn't mention, but my father's, but I'll tell you one quick story. His father, Morgan, his grandfather, his name was Morgan Ray, who lived in Dayton, Ohio. And he was a street corner preacher. He was a man that could not read nor write, but had learned to read the Bible fluently. My father and his friends used to make fun of his grandfather because he was always on the corner preaching. So my father got sick. And so Morgan Ray came to the hospital. And in fact, the doctors had said that if my father survived the night, they would operate on him in that next morning. So my his grandfather, took up a prayer vigil. They prayed all night long. He said, Frank, if you survive this, I want you to promise me that you're going to do something to help somebody. And that became part of his mantra, his commitment, that he would do something to help someone. And Ringmaster was the product of that commitment.
Wow. Good stuff.
Yeah.
Good stuff. Everybody, that's strong inspirations coming at you straight, no chaser. To you, my brother, I say this, and I mean this with all sincerity. First of all, thank you for coming on and the commitment to doing such. But that I want you to stay strong, stay safe, stay on your grind, keep saving people's lives and making them feel better. Keep that product going.
Thank you. We will.
70 years is just the shortest of the time that's left for Ringmaster to be out here working on people. And we'll keep the website and so on and so forth. And so did your father have a motto or something like that? He said, I know you just alluded something, or do you have one that will close us out?
Well, nothing except that we always say it will take the how about you walk and put the pep back in your step.
There you go. There you go. With that, I'll say bye-bye. We out. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Bye-bye.
Yeah.